First question, do you expect Adrian Fontes to challenge you in a primary?
Stop.
I'm Arizona Family political editor Dennis Welch.
Dennis, fake news Welch. Try to tell the truth.
And this is the Politics Unplugged podcast.
Dennis, if you have a problem with substance abuse, I am more than willing to talk to you anytime you need.
Welcome back to Politics Unplugged, the podcast edition. Today I'm joined by Congresswoman Yassamin Ansari. Thank you very much for being here. I know you're really busy. Let's talk about, you're kind of ending your first quarter in office. So how's it been the first 3 months?
Well, thanks for having me on, Dennis. It has been an absolute whirlwind of a first quarter in Congress. I think whether you are a freshman member or someone who's been around for decades, the unprecedented nature of the illegal actions of this administration have been nothing short of chaotic, and there's been no shortage of issues to respond to and work on and try to hold this administration accountable. But as always, I'm extremely grateful to be there. I think this is a moment where we need fighters in Congress. We need people who are not afraid to call out what is happening in this country, the authoritarian nature of the administration. And I certainly have not been holding back. So I feel very grateful to be there and lots of work to do.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the fighters. You say that in Congress, and it seems like a lot of Democrats really want that. There's some polling out there we can talk to a little bit. There's one poll out there that shows, or several polls that shows approval rating of the Democratic Party right now at an all-time low. And in one of those polls, it said that only about a third of Democrats that were polled actually want to see you guys compromise and work with Republicans on that. What do you take away from that? Because it has seemed for a long time that it was taken as a given that voters wanted their leaders to work with people regardless to get things done. But when you read that, what does it say?
I think it shows that people recognize that this is not a normal administration. These are not normal times. What we're seeing within our party in particular, it's interesting. I think before there was a lot of conversation around what side of the ideological spectrum you are within being a Democrat or being a Republican. Are you a moderate? Are you progressive? These kind of what I consider to be outdated terms now. I think what we're seeing now is a difference between the type of leaders who recognize the urgency of the moment and are willing and able to stand up and fight at every turn and do whatever it takes, and those who are not. And I think this is not only, it's somewhat of a generational divide, but it's just a difference in approach. And I think we saw that most starkly, most recently at the conversation around the continuing resolution that the Republicans put forward. I was one of many, several outspoken Democrats who were very disappointed with the Senate Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer, and his decision to compromise and not use one of the only remaining pieces of leverage that we have. And I think that is kind of what you're seeing within the polling that you referenced.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit. You mentioned generational divide. If you could unpack that a little bit, what do you mean? Is this younger Democrats want to see more pushback against this administration? What do you mean by that?
I meant more so in the leadership. I think there's somewhat of a generational divide in terms of those of us in elected office who are newer to politics, are in this, fight because of this administration or, what we see to be issues that, folks in office who have been there for decades have not been willing to address, whether that's housing affordability writ large, climate change, et cetera. But when I have town halls in my district, we had one last week. We had several hundred people show up to Burton Bar Library. We even had an overflow room because it was so overpacked. That was not generational. We saw young people and, elderly senior citizens saying, we want you to be at the forefront, standing up to Trump, standing up to Elon Musk at every turn. And that is what my constituents want of me, and that's what they're going to get.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about that before the taping, and I kind of made an offhanded comment. It's like, in your situation, it's almost like you're allowing the constituents onto your therapist chair, because I'm sure there are a lot of complaints. But at this point, what can Democrats really do about it? By that, I mean, Republicans control the House, they control the Senate, they control the White House, and a majority on the Supreme Court has been appointed by Republicans. Where can you stand up? What can you do?
I still think there's a lot we can do. Of course, I think it's important that people understand legislatively what is possible. Yes, we are in the minority, which means Democrats don't get to decide what bills come to the House floor. We don't get to decide the topic of a hearing, let's say. But I serve on the Oversight Committee, and while we are not deciding the topics of those hearings, we do get to question witnesses. So we are able to bring attention to the pressing moments. This week, that looks like the signal scandal and the massive, national security crisis that we saw, led by our incompetent Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. We are able to write letters and put forward legislation that draws attention to the important issues and put pressure on Republicans. The very narrow majority that Republicans have in the House of Representatives, it is one of the narrowest majorities in American history. That means we only need 3 Republicans to recognize the gravity of these issues and come to our side. The fact that the Trump administration withdrew the nomination of Elise Stefanik as U.S. ambassador
over
to the UN.
concerns of the slim majority.
Exactly. Over concerns because in a state Senate election, there was a major upset by Democrats. They recognize that their positions are deeply unpopular. When I get calls to my office, it's not just from Democrats. Republicans are calling us and saying, why does Elon Musk, who spent $250 billion electing this president, have so much influence? Why is he firing thousands of veterans? Why is he cutting our health care? Why is he slashing the Department of Education? I mean, this is no longer a partisan issue. Americans writ large are upset.
I was going to say, what is the top 3 issues you're hearing at these town halls? What are they most concerned about, and what do they want you to do about it?
I would say the number one is the threat to Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. The recent budget and the what is likely forthcoming in the reconciliation package
in September, right?
In September, that's going to affect the majority of Americans in some way, shape, or form. One out of 3 Arizonans rely on Medicaid. So this is the most concerning to constituents. This week, I got a call from a constituent in my district whose child is deployed overseas and was threatened as a result of the extremely irresponsible breach of national security and the disclosure of war plans via Signal. And so I think this is one of the biggest issues we've seen in the administration so far, because it is no longer just incompetence. It's no longer just irresponsibility. It puts American lives at risk outside of the United States.
Okay, back to some of the polling on the Democrats. Why do you think Democrats are polling so poorly with the public right now? You just came out of an election cycle where the Democrats suffered some big losses, obviously the presidential race, and now it seems like the message writ large just isn't resonating with voters. Why?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to remember that the polling also reflects how Democrats are feeling. And it doesn't mean that they are moving towards Republicans.
Sure.
They're absolutely not. I think Democrats want to see their leaders, as I said earlier, stand up and fight and be as vocal as possible. I think that the leaders that we are seeing within our party emerge in this moment are the ones that are meeting the moment by being everywhere all the time, communicating the effects and the actions of this administration and using every lever possible to respond. So I am personally confident in the leaders that we have who are emerging in this moment and who are standing up and really pointing to the corruption of this administration and demonstrating that everything that's happening right now is all to benefit Elon Musk and other billionaires at the expense of working people.
And we did talk a little bit about said the generational difference between some of the rank and file Democrats in leadership and whatnot. And I've seen some reporting on Axios that suggests, or they've talked to some potential Democratic primary challengers. Like Axios has reported that there could be a, quote, tsunami of primary challengers across the country on Democrats. and it kind of reflects their unhappiness with Democratic leadership. Obviously, you brought up Chuck Schumer, but what about your leader, Hakeem Jeffries? How do you assess his job so far? And are you willing to support him for another term next year, or whatnot? If you're elected again, to be the leader of the party again, are you willing to do that? Are you willing to support him?
I am. So I am a first-term Congresswoman, as you know, brand new, and I also serve as the freshman class president of the Democratic freshmen. So 34 of us, and so I get a little bit more interaction with our leadership than others. And what I saw in terms of the unity of the House Democrats during the budget conversation, I saw Leader Jeffries unite 215 Democrats against this resolution, even the frontline members who in some cases won their districts by like 200 votes in a Trump majority district. So those individuals stuck their necks out against this budget, and someone like Chuck Schumer did not. And that is because Leader Jeffries was able to get folks united. It's also very open to listening, and I think has been very articulate and clear in his criticism of the administration and an unwillingness to kind of normalize anything that's been going on.
So your assessment, he's done a good job, you think, then, since you've been in Congress. What do you think about the Senate leadership with Chuck Schumer? I know you don't have any influence over there, but there's been talk maybe that on that side of the Capitol that maybe there should be changes on the leadership with the Dems. What do you think?
Yeah, I was extremely disappointed at the Senate Democrats who caved on the budget. I think the fact that, again, you have House Democrats sticking their necks out when they barely won Trump districts, and then to have longstanding Senate Democrats who are in very safe blue areas give up the only pieces of leverage that we have was very disappointing. And I called it out. The night before we were working and organizing as House Democrats, reaching out to our own senators, doing everything we can to mobilize and get folks to call their senators and the public mobilized. And I thought it was, and I said publicly, I think it's inexcusable for any Senate Democrat to have decided to essentially a budget that is going to cut Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security from the American people.
So how, looking forward, how do Democrats get out of the wilderness? How do you retake? How would Democrats retake the House or the Senate? I mean, what's the message? It's one thing for Democrats to complain about everything that the Trump administration is doing, but what can you do to show that you're working for the average voter? Because we're starting to see a lot more polling data from the election. We're starting to see a lot more exit polling and a deeper understanding about what actually happened. And it seems like last election was a dollars and cents kind of issue, that inflation was a big deal with voters, and it helped put Trump over the top. So moving forward, how does Democrats show voters that have a low approval rating of the party that you can matter to their lives and help improve their lives?
We have to clearly articulate and demonstrate with our actions that we are the party that is for working people. We have to separate ourselves from the corporate interests of our party and really stand with people in every single way imaginable. And I think, to your point, it's not just about saying this administration is awful and corrupt and here's everything. We have to put forward our own vision for the future of this country and center affordability at the crux of it. In April and May, I will be putting forward a package of legislation centered around what will be my affordability agenda: housing affordability, utility and energy costs. Here in Phoenix, when we are on the front lines of extreme heat, we know that not only do hundreds of people die every summer because of extreme heat, you're also having people not able to pay their energy and utility costs. So you'll see some legislation from me in that regard. And finally, around tax reform and making sure that the wealthiest in this country are paying their fair share. And the middle class and working people are able to survive and actually thrive and achieve the American dream, which is what everybody in this country deserves.
And that was a nice transition. You're very good at this, because I was going to ask you a little bit about some of the things you're going to be putting out there with that. And, I believe you got some climate mitigation legislation coming out. It seems timely because we just came out of a warm week, a warmer than usual week, which is always like a reminder that the suck is coming for living here in Phoenix. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so as you know, Dennis, I came from the Phoenix City Council,
and you sure did.
Loved it. I love local government, and one of the issue I probably spent the most time on was addressing extreme heat and the local impacts of climate change. What I saw is that we really rely on federal funding here at the local level to be able to combat this issue, whether that means the cooling centers that we need open during the summertime so that people can have a safe haven from the heat, to the cool pavement programs to keep our temperatures low, tree and shade programs, because we know that certain areas of our city like South and West Phoenix actually are hotter than areas that have more shade, and that relies on federal funding. So with the recent 99-degree day that we had, as you mentioned, Senator Gallego introduced a piece of legislation that we will be supporting at the congressional level. And what that will do is hopefully bring more funding to local governments to be able to have heat resiliency programs and continue this important work. I also have long called on FEMA to declare extreme heat a natural disaster, because what we are seeing right now is that in Phoenix, heat is our natural disaster. It's a silent killer. Hundreds of people die every year, but you don't see the imagery that you see when a hurricane takes place, or you have sea level rise, or what have you. But it is just as deadly and just as
we keep seeing record numbers of people die in Maricopa County from heat-related deaths. And we know that the governor has got some plans. Some emergency plans that she can call on and whatnot. What's your plan going to call for then? If you recognize this as a natural disaster, that basically means it opens up funding from the federal government, correct?
Correct. It means just like any other natural disaster, the federal government would be involved in supporting the governor, the mayor, local municipalities to deal with this issue. The burden right now on just, the cities and the state, it's unmanageable, and it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get any better here in Arizona, unfortunately. With the rollback of climate policies in the United States and our lack of leadership on this issue, we are locked in to severe climate impacts already, let alone the future impacts that we're going to see because we're rolling back so many of our environmental protections.
All right, I think we're going to wrap up right around there. I said to keep you around 20 minutes here. So let's end on this. I always ask a lot of guests, I end on some sort of a question about music and a lot.
Oh,
yes, and I want to know when you're winding down after a rough day in Congress, what's your go-to?
So I'm a huge Swiftie. I know.
Of course you are.
I don't know why it's of course. I grew up with Taylor Swift. One of my first concerts in high school was her tour. So, listen to some Taylor Swift. I love the other pop girls, Gracie Abrams and Charlie XCX and others. And
so no Kid Rock.
No Kid Rock. No Kid Rock. I did just get tickets to the Fray, though. It's a little bit of a throwback. So I'm going to be going to that in the fall.
I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but Colin's a big Swiftie.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I could sense
he celebrates
that
her
from
entire catalog.
I did not know that. Learn something new about me every day.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Thanks for stopping by here. And as always, welcome anytime back here to the podcast.
Thank you.
And welcome back to the second half of the Politics Unplugged podcast. As always, producer extraordinaire Colin Stanton joining us again. Thanks for sticking around, man.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, and you Taylor Swiftie, you closet Swiftie.
I'm not a Swiftie. I have no beef with Taylor Swift.
You're just saying that because you don't want the emails.
The first time I ever heard Taylor Swift, knowingly heard Taylor Swift, literally I was lying in the dentist chair, and they were playing music. And it was the song we're never, ever, 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 ever getting back together or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
and I heard that line and I recognized that line because it's sort of a memorable title. And I was like, oh, I've heard a Taylor Swift song.
Yeah. It's just funny to me, like Congresswoman Ansari, like anybody else, it'd be like, oh, you're just trolling for votes with the Taylor Swift stuff there. But like, I forget, like Ansari is a younger member of Congress. Like, oh yeah, she's like legit from that era.
Yeah, she saw her in high school. Yeah, that's okay.
That's okay.
That's right.
You're legit.
You're not.
You got legit Swift cred.
Yes. Someone our age, talks about their love for Taylor Swift. You can kind of look at them sideways, going, it sounds like you're trying to kiss someone's ass there.
Craig Stanton, Congressman Stanton, here talking about. I celebrate her entire catalog.
I'm probably not buying that one. And sorry, that tracks. Sure.
Oh man, so for you, man, sitting in the producer chair all week, what do you think the big story of the week was?
I mean, the whole Signal thing, the war plan on Signal.
They're attack plans. They weren't war plans.
Yeah. I mean, that's just mind-boggling. It really is. It's just absurd.
Yeah, you pointed out something today. Cause we, lift back the curtain a little bit. There are days, many days, you just can't. I can't keep up with everything.
Yeah.
Like I'm working on a story that's like a local story or something, and then something's happening on the national level. And you point out a story that I thought was pretty interesting. That Signal story was broke by, I think, the editor-in-chief of the Atlantic Monthly.
Yeah.
Or the Atlantic. I think it used to be called the Atlantic Monthly.
Yeah.
But you pointed out that the administration started attacking not just him, but it was his wife they started attacking.
Yeah. White House went after him, went after the reporter, went after his wife, insulting his wife. And like, okay, if they're such bad people, maybe you shouldn't have added them to the chat.
Well, it's like you added him to the chat, and then you blow him up.
Yeah,
like what the fuck?
Yeah, you keep insulting the guy. Hegseth was going on about what a terrible person he is. Well, don't add him to the chat. You add him to the chat.
Yeah, and I think like this story too. I mean, we're not getting into the specifics of it because I'm sure listeners of this wonderful podcast are already familiar with this, and if you're not, please just go Google it. But this really is a great example of Trump's attitude of never back down, never admit you're wrong, and attack. Because this would have been a situation any other administration prior to this would have just said, "Yeah, we screwed up, and we're going to make sure that this doesn't happen again." And move on.
Any past administration, except for the earlier Trump version, heads are rolling after this.
Yeah.
Left, right, Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. You screw up this badly, and Hegseth is facing some serious questions and maybe out.
Yeah.
And not now. Now it's, we hate the reporter's wife.
Yeah. Like you guys brought him into this.
Yeah.
And then you go after his wife because you fucked up?
Yeah. I know, it's astounding.
It's just, it's just mind-boggling to me. I mean, and a lot of the people involved in that chat were some of the most outspoken people calling for Hillary Clinton to be locked up because she was keeping, classified information on a private server at her house or something. I can't remember.
Which is like positively quaint now.
Yeah, positively.
Did they even confirm any of it was classified? I'm not sure they did.
I can't remember any of that. But like, look, I mean, that story was dumb.
Yes.
For the Clintons. She shouldn't have been doing that. Sure, was she open for criticism on that? Yeah, you bet. Hell yeah, she was.
Yeah.
But, for these folks to call for her to be locked up, some of the same folks on this Signal chat, to then just turn around and say, well, let's attack the guy's wife and this reporter. And then, for the president to stand there and say like, well, we had 2 perfect months and we had 1 minor setback. This doesn't seem like a minor setback.
No, it really does not.
It seems like it's much more serious. It's a lot more serious than the email server. Yeah. And you launched, you fueled a campaigns for locking her up.
Yeah, I know. It's preposterous. And then some of the messages in that Signal thing.
Oh, the emojis?
Yeah, and
war emojis.
And Vance doing the I'm just so tired of bailing out Europe. What are you talking about? It's just exasperating, man. It really is.
Nothing says war like a fist emoji and a.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We look like clowns.
Yeah. Just absolutely mind-boggling week of things. Before we kind of shift gears into non-political stuff, what's your take on? We talked about this a little bit on the show. State lawmakers apparently still, want voters to possibly give them a big raise, but they don't want them to take away their little special privilege that they use to weasel their way out of speeding tickets.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, look, the bottom line is whatever you think of the legislature, they're underpaid.
Yeah, they are underpaid.
Particularly the ones who live in the Metro Phoenix area because they don't get the stipend that the out of area people get, even if they don't actually live outside the area.
Yeah.
But the pay is ridiculously low, and it means you are guaranteeing yourself a class of lawmaker there that doesn't need the money from it.
Or if they do need the money from it, that's a different concern.
Yeah. Yes. It raises all kinds of concerns. It should be a livable wage. It is not. So there are very, very strong arguments for raising their pay.
100%.
Having said that, so that's probably going to go to the ballot, but they killed off the thing where they don't have to answer to any law. They killed off their legislative immunity thing. So they're maintaining their legislative immunity. We don't get to vote on whether the Finchams of the world should be able to weasel their way out of traffic tickets by claiming they're immune.
Yeah, and then send in local officials, stern warnings on
Senate letterhead.
And fucking Christ.
Yeah, Senate letterhead with vaguely threatening things because they don't want to pay a traffic ticket.
Yeah, that's some entitlement bullshit there.
So needless to say, do I think they deserve a pay raise? Yeah, I think there should be a pay raise. Am I going to vote for a pay raise? No.
Why? Because you do stuff like this.
Yes.
You killed a bill.
You put that in, you put legislative immunity on the ballot, I'll think about the pay raise.
Yeah.
You guys are killing that off? You can kiss my ass. I'm not voting for a pay raise.
No, it's so dumb. Because for years, my thing with lawmakers, I would triple or quadruple their salaries. And I would go a step further. I would ensure that they could have at least one staff member. A lot of folks, unless you live down the legislature, you served in the legislature, you don't understand the immense amount of power that the Senate House leadership has.
Yeah,
they're the ones that negotiate the budget deals, and these lawmakers down there are shoved a massive package of budget bills, that they're going to be voting on in just a few hours. There's nobody looking out for the lawmakers going through this stuff and really trying to understand what's in these budget bills.
Yeah.
And every year, lawmakers talk about the budget, and this is the biggest thing we do. Well, the biggest thing you do is controlled by a handful of people.
Yeah.
Because information at the Capitol is the coin of the realm. And if you control the information, you control a lot. And you just shove this stuff down in front and say, vote for it.
Yeah.
So I would say triple the salary, at least, bring it up to, it's 24 now, at least bring it up to 70, 80 grand a year or something like that. And give them a staff member to help them wade through some of this shit.
Yeah.
Because if you printed out all the bills, there was a few thousand bills introduced this year. Not all of them got hearings, but just the ones that got hearings. And get to the floor and you're voting on. I mean, if you printed them all up, it'd be a massive stack of legislation that no regular human being could be, could get through.
Yeah.
Or you could reasonably assume could get through and digest everything. You need somebody to go helping to go through some of this stuff to look out for potential, political landmines, policy landmines, that kind of thing. That's always been my take.
Yeah. I think it's a solid take. I think the counterpoint is that's never, ever, ever going to happen.
No, it'll never happen.
It will never.
Why?
People
Because they do dumb shit like this.
Yes. People are not going to vote for the pay raise because people hate the legislature.
Yeah, because they protect their own ass on stuff
Yes.
like this. And like most of this stuff is like, A, don't drive criminally, don't criminally speed. And if you get caught, pay the fucking ticket and move on.
Yes. And the fact that it's worth the hassle for them to do this.
Yeah. I mean, this was not stripping away immunity from the Constitution. This was amending the provision in the Constitution saying you cannot use this for speeding tickets.
Yes. And they act like they're standing on principle, that it's the principle that they should be allowed to speed if they want to.
Yeah. Oh, well, somebody could stop it. Like when has that happened?
Yeah.
When has that happened? When would it happen?
Yes. I know it's a preposterous argument for them, but it was left up to them, and we knew how that was going to go.
Yeah, we all knew how it was going to go.
Yes.
But I think the point was Kwong Win introduced the bill. There's some local politics at play up in Prescott, because it was his seatmate, Mark Fincham, that kind of kickstarted all this. I mean, obviously, you had 3 senators over the past year that got busted doing this or found that they were using this in some respects. So I think the point was made, the political point was made with Representative Wynn.
Yeah.
But if we did one of the old school like man on the street interviews, I doubt we could find somebody on the street that would be like, no, they should be allowed to do that.
No. And you can find some people with crazy opinions when you do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
but you're not going to find that.
I mean, you found there were people on social media like I'm a Republican and this is bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like bipartisan. This thing would pass like 95%.
Yes.
It may set records for the for the people who pass this thing.
Yeah.
And then you might be able to make an argument you deserve a pay raise.
Yeah. But yeah. They can go ahead and put the pay raise on the ballot.
Live like the rest of us, right?
Yeah.
Live like the rest of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get to get pulled over for speeding going over 100 and then tell the cop, I like to drive 140 through here usually. God.
Paul Mosley.
Yeah.
He ended up on our air in another story recently, just randomly.
That's right. Yeah.
For those who've always wondered about Paul Mosley, he lives back in the valley.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of chickens.
That's right.
I had to do a double check. I looked up. Like, that can't, it is. It's Paul Mosley with chickens. Oh, man. Let's shift gears now. Let's talk about one of our favorite topics, and that is the hot take shows for sports.
Yeah.
Love us some Stephen A. Smith, right?
Such a horse's ass. Just such a giant horse's ass.
So kind of reset, like not apparently. So Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James has been in a beef for weeks now.
Yeah, for a while. So earlier this season, and it's all regarding Bronny, LeBron's son.
Yeah.
Earlier, who has been bouncing between the NBA team and the G League team. Had been doing very well for, considering he'd been practicing well, he'd been doing well in the G League, and had earned more minutes for the Lakers. So he got that opportunity against Philly and had a really bad game. Just a really bad game. Afterwards, coach said, look, that's on me. He deserved a better chance. I put him in a really bad situation. Shouldn't have done it. We'll move on. And so Stephen A. went on TV after that and basically insulted LeBron, saying, you need to stop it. As a father, you need to stop this. As a father, you can't let this go on.
Totally reasonable comments.
And I mean, it's such a shitty way to put that. And it was a stupid comment. And it's, and it's just another example of the guy who isn't really paying attention to stuff. He has a TV show, so his opinion matters no matter what it is. And he's loud and so he's going to blather this stuff, and it's dumb. And the sort of funny thing with all this is Bronny's doing fine. Like he's having a pretty good year.
Yeah.
He was a 55th pick. Look around the league at the people who were drafted around there. I think most of the teams would be really happy to have a Bronny with the 55th pick. And he may never be an NBA player. He's small.
Yeah. He's a tweener, kind of a tweener. Is like
he's like 6'2", and that seems generous. He's probably more like 6'1". But I heard a LA Times beat writer talking about this, that one thing people should understand in all this conversation is the team really likes him. Like the other players really, really like him. He works his ass off. He's athletic. He keeps his mouth shut, but he's also funny. He understands his role as like the 12th or 13th guy there on the bench. And they all really enjoy him. And at the same time, he's lighting it up in the G League. He dropped 39 the other night in the G League.
Wow, that's good. Good for him, man.
And for those who haven't watched, I've become a G League nerd. I keep going to the Valley Suns games.
You got to see some quality basketball.
It's really good. I mean, the level of basketball is very good. If you're dropping 39 in a G League team, you're doing great. Because I'm going to these games, I'm seeing a lot of guys who are 1 or 2 years removed from just lighting people up in the tournament. Like if you follow the tournament or college basketball at all, guys like Leaky Black or Armando Baycott from North Carolina, or Drew Timme, who was a star player at Gonzaga for years. They're in the G League, and some of them are like struggling to get minutes. Like it's this is a level far higher than what you're watching in the tournament right now. And Bronny's dropping 39 in there and averaging, I think, over 20. Yeah. He's doing great. So the whole "we need to stop this" is stupid.
Well, and then let's fast forward now from the origins of this dumb fucking stupid argument to the latest rant, which was just like an all-time bullshit rant if I've ever heard one.
And it's in response. So LeBron confronted him at courtside during a game.
Yeah,
because the Lakers are playing the Knicks, and
didn't like Stephen A. Smith said he was about to throw hands or something like that.
Something like that, which prompted LeBron to show old video of Stephen A. trying to box and not looking like anyone would be afraid of.
Yeah,
should he choose to throw hands. And I think Stephen A. has said, I'm easy to find. I'm sitting courtside. You got to beef with me? Come see me. Well, LeBron came and saw him and told him to keep his kid's name out of his mouth and stop talking about him that way, which I think is fully reasonable given how shitty Stephen A.'s comments about him were. Yeah. And then Stephen A. went on this rant.
Yeah.
The new rant was, you should be happy about all the things I haven't said about you.
And then proceeds to say what those were.
Yeah. Comes up with a list. I never questioned why you couldn't bother to show up at Kobe Bryant's memorial service. I never brought that up. And for the record, LeBron was there. LeBron was at the memorial service.
And actually requested he not be shown on video, on TV, because he didn't want to take attention away from the services.
Yes, he was there. And it was reported at the time he was there. Stephen A. made it up. Or is just completely misinformed.
Yeah.
He never brought up that LeBron couldn't be bothered to show up at Dwayne Wade's Hall of Fame.
A good reason for that.
Yeah, Bronny had just had a heart attack.
Yeah. Want to be with his son.
LeBron was with his kid who had just had a heart attack while playing college basketball.
He had to retract those statements.
Yeah. Just an absolute blowhard jackass.
Yeah.
And he's just going to double down each time. And God, I'm so tired of this.
And why? And
it's not just him. It's like this is what we do now.
Yeah. Well, it's like, and that's why we're talking about it. Why? Because there's so much here that represents what is so wrong with a lot of America and the American media today.
Yeah.
It is the loudest voice, gets the most attention. It's fact-free.
Yes.
Damn the consequences. And you can apply the same shit that we've seen with Stephen A. Smith to politics.
Yeah.
It's like your job, man, like our job in some sense, and sometimes we succeed, sometimes we fail, but like our job is to help you understand some political stuff that's happening, whether it's policy, whether it's campaign, help you understand that.
Yeah.
And Stephen A. Smith doesn't help anybody fucking understand the game of basketball when he's going off on somebody's kid.
Yeah.
It's just like politics. It's like so much of this. Like, how does, you doing, you ranting and throwing out your grievances, this doesn't help us understand what's actually going on.
Yeah. And a lot of it at the core is he was wrong with what he originally said. So he just needs to start throwing stuff at the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, we've developed this attention economy between reality TV and social media. It's just become who can captivate you with looking into a camera and running their mouth, whatever they're saying.
Yeah, and the attention economy is that those who get the most attention are the ones that make the money.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Congress, and the best known people in Congress
are the least effective Congress people.
Yes. I mean, just a lot of blowhards who say stupid shit, and enough people like it that they do fine. They're not there to legislate. They're there to get sound bites on Fox News so they can pat themselves on the back and get money from someone.
Yeah. Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I just really wanted to talk a little bit because I think there is so much in this that represents problems in the media, a larger problem there.
Yeah.
And look, I'm going to get on my yard right now and tell you to get the fuck off of it. But yeah, it shows you my age. But a few years ago, and not too long ago, somebody makes comments like Stephen A. Smith did he'd be fired.
Yeah.
He would have been fired.
Yeah.
Or put on suspension or some sort of punishment. But I bet like the execs of whoever he works for right now, patting themselves on the back.
Yeah.
And they're totally okay with this.
And he just signed a new deal that's over $10 million a year, I believe.
Yeah. Like, help me understand the game a little bit more. Like, give me some of that. But it's like you've turned like the sports talk into just like drama talk.
Yeah. Well, and one funny side note on that is when LeBron was, and part of the Stephen A. response was to LeBron calling him out. It wasn't just the confrontation, but then he also did a lengthy interview with Pat McAfee, also on ESPN. So it's a back and forth between an NBA star and a talking head, with all of that content appearing on ESPN shows.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Pat McAfee. Is he still waging a war on sleeves?
I think so, yeah.
Is he still?
I'm not a regular viewer of Pat McAfee, who has a running beef with Stephen A., which is probably why LeBron is sitting down with him for, it was like a 37-minute.
Maybe that's how we
get
get some more attention for the show, that you and I just have beef.
We'll have beef.
We'll make something.
Yeah, we'll come up with someone.
Next week we'll come. That'll be our homework assignment, right? Next week we'll come up with some beef.
One of us will be yelling insults at Greg Stanton until he gets to respond. The one other side note.
You could yell at me like, as a father, and I'll be like, I don't have kids.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. One other side note to all of this too that annoys me is the attacks LeBron gets, I think, are just ridiculous. And so much of it is guys in their 40s and 50s who have this man crush on Michael Jordan still. Mm. And so when they hear anyone suggest someone might be as good as Jordan, they freak out and attack them constantly. And it just seems so juvenile to me. You constantly are hearing people badmouth every single thing LeBron does. And I just think, God, can you sit back and enjoy the fact that this guy's 40 years old and we've never seen anything like this?
No. Well, and like the other thing too is maybe I'm wrong. You watch NBA a lot closer than I have. I don't know of any real scandals involving LeBron James. He's not known to be a shitty teammate. He's not known to be, he's not been known to be a bad father. No. A bad husband.
Kids seem absolutely great. People love everyone who's around Bronny praises what a good kid Bronny is, and the other kids seem the same way.
He seems like a pretty damn decent human being from what I know his public persona. I know it could be different, but it seems like he's a pretty damn good dude. He built a school for underprivileged kids in his hometown of Akron.
Yeah, you don't hear any issues of like infidelity, any of that.
No.
Seems very devoted to his wife and his kids.
Yeah, no like drug problem, drinking problem, and all the standard stuff with some of our celebrities. You know?
And when there have been, quote unquote controversies or something, it was all political bullshit.
Or it's like he's forcing out a coach. Great.
Which, I mean,
Oh,
welcome
no.
to professional sports. That's how
Oh
it works.
no.
We
Oh,
all
no.
love Magic Johnson. He's got a hell of a coach's body count on his back, and he might as well. He's Magic Johnson. He's one of the top 5 players of all time.
So did Michael Jordan.
Yes, it's how it works. You got to have the coach on your side. If you don't, you're going to be hitting the bricks.
Yeah.
When people have complained about Jordan or about LeBron, it's always manufactured bullshit controversies. It's what's he going to do about China stuff? Like, quit pretending you give a shit about China. You're only caring about China as long as it gives you a chance to whack on a black guy. Just stop it.
Yeah, and it's like, on the flip side too, when you look at the things we've learned about Michael Jordan over the years, right? Like, it doesn't seem like a great teammate.
Well, he's a complete asshole.
He punched out Steve Kerr.
Yes, there's nothing positive anyone will say about Jordan as a person. Great basketball player.
That old mentality. He did what he had to do to win.
Yeah,
like whatever, man. All right. It's not worth doing stuff like that.
No,
in his 10-part documentary series, if you want to know how close he is with his kids,
I think they got about 5 seconds at the end,
like episode 9 or 10.
Yeah,
they're not much of a part of it.
No, they are not.
And then it's just that entire series of Michael Jordan just looks like he's 3 sheets to the wind.
Yeah,
still like throwing out, just still having grievances with everybody.
Yeah, sitting back in his recliner with the rummy eyes and a drink on the little table next to him.
I've equated him to, like, if anybody's ever seen There Will Be Blood, like, Michael Jordan is the Daniel Plainview of the NBA. It's just it was never enough.
Yeah.
Nothing was ever enough.
Yeah.
Just an unhappy human being.
Yeah.
When Michael Jordan was inducted into the Hall of Fame, he invited the guy who beat him out in high school for the varsity team just so he could slam him.
Yeah. He invited someone else who was a coach, I think.
Yeah.
So he could rip him for cutting him, and he had this whole backstory, and it was all bullshit.
That's the biggest sports bullshit story ever. It's like, he couldn't make the team.
Yes, it's a fake story he made up as motivation, and he's been retired for years, and he's still repeating it just so he can shit on the guy.
Yeah, because he was like a freshman trying to make the varsity team, and like there were some rules about it or something, or he was just too small at the time. But
it was
he still played that year.
Story.
He was still playing basketball for the high school that year on the JV squad, and apparently doing pretty well.
Yeah.
But LeBron.
And there are guys, it's guys in their 40s and 50s, a lot of them in sports media, a lot of them covering the NBA, will take endless shots at LeBron because it freaks them out when people praise LeBron, because it's like their childhood is being stolen from them.
Yeah.
If you suggest someone may approach Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're in the 30s, it's Kobe. Who will, like, get out of here with that.
Like, just stop with the Kobe stuff, man.
Kobe stuff. I remember after obviously it got way worse when he passed.
Yeah.
As one would expect. But there were people asking if he was the greatest Laker of all time. And like, I'm sorry, if you're over 20 and you're asking that, get out of here.
Does he?
Is he top 5?
Maybe, because you got
if you weight it on strictly what they did in a Laker uniform, he's top 5. But
because I've got Magic.
Yes.
I've got Jerry West.
West is up there. Yes.
I've got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yes. And a lot of this is,
and then I think you put Kobe and Wilt, right?
I mean, I'd certainly
or Elgin Baylor.
See, that's the one everyone forgets.
Yeah.
Everyone forgets about Elgin Baylor because he played in an era we didn't see for the most part,
70s,
unless
yeah.
you're in your 60s or 70s. Yeah, you didn't see Elgin Baylor play, and we don't have the film like we did. Go look up Elgin Baylor's numbers. Oh my God! And the people who did see him play will tell you, yeah, he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But people forget about Baylor. But yeah,
What
like I
about
said,
Vlade Divac? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm
like I said,
joking.
it comes down to whether you are looking strictly at what they did in a Laker uniform, because then it's Magic number one, and then you can get into the Kobe discussion.
Yeah.
Because Jabbar had the great years in Milwaukee before he came to L.A. I'd still probably put him ahead of Kobe. Jerry West was a Laker. He's the logo for a reason.
The NBA.
He was very good. There's Baylor. Wilt played most of his career elsewhere, but I mean, most debates of the greatest players of all time, while everyone's debating Jordan and LeBron, I tend to go Wilt, Kareem.
Yeah, it was a different game back then too. And yeah, I mean, Jabbar, Wilt, changed the game. There was goaltending became a thing because of them. They outlawed dunking for a long time because of Jabbar and those guys. Jordan changed the game with his athleticism. I think Steph Curry really changed the game.
He did. They got to address that.
Huh?
They've got to address that. Yes.
Yeah, it changed the game. Maybe not for the good, but he dramatically altered the game.
Yeah.
More so than Kobe.
No,
Kobe but anyway, I don't want to go down that because we could spend hours doing that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, Kobe was just ripping off Michael Jordan.
Very good player. Very, very good player.
Amazing player.
But not what people of his generation want him to be.
All right, man. You want to end it there?
Yeah. Probably no pod next week because I'm on vacation next week. You can do one without me if you want, but
You can't
I
do
won't
the
be
pod
here.
without you.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we gonna do? Bring Morgan up here?
Yeah, I mean, you could try. He's a little busy these days, but you can give it a shot.
Busy these days. He would just be up here answering text messages and mail.
Yeah.
All right, man. Enjoy the vacation, my
Thank you.
friend.
I will do that.
And see y'all maybe next week or the week after.
Yeah,
Not sure.
probably a week after, but it's up to you.
All right.
See you later.
Later.
Thanks for listening. You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, the Google Store, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. See you next time.